Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Lights on Data show. Today, we're diving into one of the most critical and often overlooked elements in AI and machine learning, and that is data governance.
Woohoo!
Yes, as organizations rush to implement AI, many fail to consider the foundational role of data governance in ensuring these projects succeed and deliver real value.
That's right. When we think about AI and machine learning, we often picture algorithms or robots. At least I know I used to do that. But the reality is that without solid data governance, even the most advanced AI models won't reach their potential.
So, today's episode is aptly named why data governance is really so essential for AI and machine learning and how organizations can get it right from the start. So we're going to go into the deep end there.
And to help us unpack this, we have a wonderful guest today, Gorkem Sevinc. He is the CEO and founder of Qualytics, a company that's redefining data quality for the enterprise with its AI driven solutions. With extensive experience in AI, ML, data analytics, and building scalable infrastructures, Gorkem has been instrumental in leading data innovation across sectors. From co-founding companies like Facet and Scene Health to his work at Johns Hopkins Medicine's Technology Innovation Center, he's been at the forefront of data transformation.
Welcome, Gorkum, to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm
Well,
excited to talk to you today.
likewise, we're really thrilled to have you with us. And before we go into some of those best practices and some of the actionable steps, we'd love to start by hearing in your own words what role data governance plays in AI and machine learning projects and why it's often overlooked.
Yeah, look, it's been an amazing journey in the last few years to see the adoption of AI and ML at the enterprise scale.
Yeah.
If you talk to any company, they're talking about what are they doing about AI, what are they going to be doing about AI, what are they doing as preparation for their AI future, right? There are no Fortune 2000 companies that you would talk to that don't have those initiatives.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. And that was not the case 5 years ago. But data governance, AI governance is typically overlooked because typically what happens for data governance is we wait for things to break and then we prioritize them.
So true.
We do something about them.
Yeah.
We play expensive whack-a-mole when it comes to especially data quality, which is one of the major parts of data governance. And in the AI world, that is no longer acceptable. We cannot feed our data to systems that are going to produce previously unknown insights for us and expect that the output is going to be acceptable. Right? We're not going to have analysts using their muscle memory to say, well, this data point is bad, I'm going to throw that one out, I'm going to utilize this subset, and I'm going to feed it into my model. As we get away from that with AI and ML adopting and auto-generating these previously unknown insights, it is no longer a luxury to do governance of our data. And it's very exciting times for us, especially at Qualytics, that we're seeing that adoption kick in an order of magnitude more than before.
Yeah.
And happy to hear that there's your company out there that's helping organizations really get onto it from square one, lay out that really important foundation in place. But of course, there's more than data governance as well. It's something that comes in hand, and that's
Yeah, so we wanted to ask also what role do data quality and data lineage play in ensuring the success of AI projects, and how can organizations improve these areas?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, I think about the analytics maturity curve, right? I think about that as being mission critical to any AI ML initiatives that would be done. So when I think about that analytics maturity model, we go from championing with basic descriptive analytics to going into prescriptive analytics, predictive analytics, and all the way to graduating into AI and ML. And as part of that, we need to also invest in our infrastructure that enables all of that fun work going forward. So whether that is your enterprise data warehouse, your data lake, that's all great, right? That's mission critical. But that's all about availability of data. Let's take data from its source systems, get it into a position so that we can actually now feed it into systems, into our ML AI systems. So that's great, but now we need to think about the data governance perspective, as Diana just rightly asked. And in the data governance world, we start thinking about my data cataloging, making sure that I have metadata, business descriptions around what the data is that we're looking at. We have the data quality side, where I'm looking at my ongoing quality of the data for, is it calibrated for fit? Is it fit for purpose? And then the data lineage, how is that data impacting up and downstream reporting, and going back to the source of the data to understand how that KPI broke, how that KPI gets impacted. And of course, in data governance, we start thinking about the people and processes and technologies all together. And all of that to say, what we're trying to do here is making sure is our data is fit for purpose. We understand what that data is, so that we can then utilize it for multiple purposes, whether that's our reporting, whether that's our basic machine learning models, or whether that is more advanced AI models that are going to look at multiple correlations at the same time. We have to get our house in order. And that's what data governance is about, right? So getting our house in order includes business descriptions and a data catalog. It includes master data management and entity resolution. It includes our ongoing data quality. It even includes data observability for making sure our pipelines are up and running and they're correctly structured.
Right.
Does that help answer the question?
Oh my God,
very much.
And while I was listening to you, I know that George is very, very happy hearing all these things.
And yeah, just wanted to add to that. I feel nowadays trust is so important overall in anything that we do, and as companies are putting products out there and services, and especially in the world of AI now, that trust, that transferability, the unbiased bit that we're hoping for always when we are seeing the outcomes of these AI solutions, trust is important. And data governance, data lineage, data quality is helping us get better at all of these.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you just highlighted something very important. Data governance cannot be an initiative for only data teams. There are data governance professionals that end up owning systems, and they define some of the rules around it. But it has to be a shared responsibility between business teams, subject matter experts, and data teams, so that we can actually collectively say we trust this data.
Definitely. And it's definitely a challenge when that doesn't happen. What other challenges have you encountered that organizations are facing in implementing effective data governance for their AI initiatives, and not only?
What I've seen is that if we skip some steps in our analytics maturity model, and we go from not doing any prescriptive, descriptive analytics, we don't have any data governance in place. We just took our data, everything in Snowflake, for example, and we just fed it all into an AI model. Our AI model now spat out some insights for us.
Mm-hmm.
Those insights, do we trust it to just take it and make some decisions with it? That's a very key question. So while there's the hype around AI, those previously unknown insights, do I trust them? And it's a big resounding no. If I don't do any governance around my data, and now I'm just feeding it into some model, let's take an example. I mean, we just talked about my dog. So if I feed my AI pictures of dogs with 3 legs, and I train my AI model with it, what is going to be my output? My AI is going to say dogs should have 3 legs. Is that correct? Well, of course it's not.
Yeah.
So getting our house in order is important. Now, but if we think about this whole big question of data quality and how do you actually achieve it, then we start unpacking how we can utilize AI to actually do data quality better. Our traditional way of doing data quality, if you talk to any enterprise, is we wait for things to break, just like the expensive whack-a-mole I was just saying. We wait for things to break, we go fix it, we prioritize that data asset for that minute, And if we're forward looking, we're going to write a data quality rule to catch that specific issue going forward. It's a highly unscalable sort of approach.
And always reactive.
Always reactive. Always reactive. We're always waiting for the next thing to break. That's one side of the spectrum. We're getting our data in order. And on the opposite side of the spectrum, now we're trying to put systems into place that are going to just do all sorts of analysis on its own and all sorts of correlation on its own. So there's this chasm between the two. And the approach that we have decided to take at Qualytics is, how do we actually bridge that chasm? How do we utilize ML models, AI models, to build explainability into understanding our data so that we can come up with its shapes and patterns, so that we can auto-generate data quality rules? Because guess what? Writing data quality rules is not a sexy job. It is plumbing, right? Where it is plumbing, and it's not an exciting thing to write a regular expression to define formats of phone numbers for every single phone number that we would receive in an enterprise, right? That's not exciting. But we can actually put the machine to work so that we reduce the work that we would do by 95%. Sorry, I'm going off on a tangent, but all that to say, the data quality work that we are doing is highly impactful to the insights that we're going to ultimately have from that data, whether it's AI, ML, or even basic reporting.
Definitely.
I love it. You've already touched on this at certain points, but can you please share some best practices for establishing a robust data governance framework specifically tailored for AI and ML environments?
Yeah, absolutely. I think number one is you have to have a data catalog in place. We're not a data catalog. We work with a lot of data catalog vendors. You cannot be living in 2024 at an enterprise with no data catalog. You need to document your data assets. How are they correlated with each other? What is the metadata around it? What is the business context around it? It's mission critical to have a data catalog in place. It is, of course, mission critical to have a data quality platform in place for the aforementioned reasons. But before you start implementing any tools, you need to start thinking, what are my goals for my data governance program?
Mm-hmm.
Who are the people that are going to be involved? What are the processes that we're going to do? And what are the technologies? Because if let's say that you are a big enterprise and you just turn on Qualytics, you have billions of data assets, you have trillions of records, and you just turn on Qualytics, all of a sudden you're going to get a lot of anomalies. We're going to automatically find anomalies in your data. But if you're not doing anything about those anomalies, then your data governance program has already failed.
Right.
So I think about that data governance program as, I first need to define what are my expectations. I need to prioritize what's important to me today, but what's going to be important to me tomorrow as well. For example, today I may be caring about the volumes of data and freshness of data that's coming in. That's more data absorbability, right? Making sure that data pipelines are up and running. But tomorrow I'm going to be caring more about the shapes and patterns of data. Is it matching the business expectations that I have? But I may not start there if my data governance program is immature. As I mature up my data governance program, I am going to go into more complex business logic. So I see it all as a sort of a journey.
Mm-hmm.
I see it as not a black and white thing. Data governance is not black and white. It's big grayscale.
And
we're always trying to improve it.
Yeah.
So, and when we think about the best practices, I think centralization of data assets is, of course, important. Centralization of our business rules, technical rules, all in one place. That's very important. We cannot measure something. We cannot improve something we don't measure. Defining our KPIs around data quality, around the sub KPIs of that data quality, whether it's volumetrics, freshness, conformity, coverage, etc. Defining those KPIs and measuring those over time is very important. None of that will work if you don't have your house in order. And your house in order may mean that you have a data warehouse in place, you have a data lake in place, you have some defined pipelines that are bringing data into a place that is consumable. You have invested into your EDW structure with a medallion architecture or whatever data model you're using. I don't care. But at the end of the day, you have a defined structure for your data. You have documentation around it so that business users can come in and say, I understand what data this is and what it represents. What are the real world representations of that data? And then going to implementing those technologies that help our people and processes to be put into place. And I think the one more point that I'm going to make here is underlining that people perspective.
Mm.
Data governance is not possible to just be done by a data team. It's just not. The data team is responsible of the data infrastructure and implementing best practices. A data governance professional, a data analyst, a data engineer, a data quality analyst, they're not going to know the intricacies of FP&A data. It's not their job. But a subject matter expert in FP&A knows their data the best. So bridging the chasm between the two so that we actually enable this co-ownership of data governance between the two is ultimately what we have to do so that then those subject matter experts can use that data for their advantage in AI, ML, and any other analytics.
This is
Loving this.
yeah. My background is change management. So this is what we're trying to do every day to engage people, to show them what's in it for them, to contribute to projects that seemingly do not pertain to them, but affect them directly. Do you have some suggestions for how to do that, or best practices, or something that has worked in your experience?
Yeah, I think, look, transparency is number one,
I love it.
right?
Yeah.
We cannot have our data teams may get excited about a tool. They may get excited about Qualytics. But if that business user is not included in the decision making, that's not exciting to them. Involving our select business users in the decision making is goes a long way. Our most successful implementations have people from finance, people from marketing that are getting involved in a proof of concept that they're
Yeah.
trying the product out with. Bridging that chasm with transparency day one, involving them on what are the goals of a proof of concept, what are the goals of our ongoing go live in a production manner, what is the end goal that we're trying to achieve, and just aligning on that is absolutely key. Outside of the transparency, I think just highlighting the process. The data governance team is going through a process. They have looked at 5 vendors for data catalogs and 3 vendors for data quality. And here are the criteria that we're looking at. Highlighting that criteria in a way that is transparent again is exciting. Now, your business users may not know what conformity means, but giving examples of address validation or format validation or phone number validation, right? Those help make it more real for those SMEs to be to opine better on what their desires are for data governance.
To speak their language also.
Yeah. You've listed so many golden nuggets that I do want to recap a few just to make sure we're aligning there for our audience. So first is definitely start with those goals, the drivers. Why are we doing data governance? It also helps you set the focus and direction. I mean, there's so many things to tackle that you do need to understand the goals to see what you should tackle first and next and why, and also think ahead. The fact that it's a journey and it's not just a project with an end date, it's something that's ongoing and you'll keep on building and improving. You've also mentioned the centralization of having common standards and definitions, the data sets as well to be centrally available to the organization. Of course, the metrics and KPIs that you should have in place to monitor the performance of, I guess, your data governance efforts, as well as the impact of it. And yeah, the context and definitions and all that is obviously all important. Of course, the people, the fact that it's not just a technical piece, it needs to be a joint collaboration and partnership between the technical data teams and the business, and that's crucial. The change management aspects, get them on from the start that you both mentioned. And you've also talked about the tools, and at the very least, that the organization should invest in a data catalog and a data quality tool. Can you please tell us about the Qualytics capabilities and how those are aiding companies in their data governance implementation?
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, I love doing my pitch. So first of all, George, great
Right.
summary of all the points that we have made. Right. The reason why I started Qualytics in the first place with my co-founder Eric is because I saw the tooling out there as inadequate for my needs. I had used data observability products, looking at my freshness volumetrics, and then rest of the time I found myself and my team writing a lot of rules, waiting for things to break and prioritizing accordingly because I had so many data assets, I don't even know where to start.
Mm-hmm.
So my prioritization was based on who's yelling at me and how loudly they're yelling at me.
Right.
And started thinking that approach does not scale. So when we start thinking about data quality, um, I think about three things. I think about a centralized repository of all my rules, right? Just like we talked about before. My technical rules and my business rules are all in one place. Well, I cannot do that if I don't have a really highly usable interface in which a business user can come in, log in. They don't have to write code. There are more than 50 common data quality rule types that actually manage 99% of the data quality rules that we
Mm-hmm.
often need. And putting those in a templated manner so that they can actually come in and define their own rules is very important. Qualytics delivers that, as well as a highly usable API in which data teams can come and define their own rules. Step two is I like to think of it as as a scalable runtime environment. And I need better wording for it, so bear with me. I think dealing with the exorbitant amounts of data is table stakes. You are not a data quality vendor if you don't deal with massive amounts of data.
Mm-hmm.
But what I think about is automating corrective actions. Every time I see a certain thing, take a certain action downstream.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not talking about correcting data. I'm talking about kicking off a downstream workflow so that I can create a Jira ticket for a certain person or kick off a Slack message to a certain team based on the criticality and the tagging of the data asset, etc., so that I can hand off the context at the right time. And I think about, of course, scoring data quality, not just one quality score, but being able to drill into completeness and the conformity and the coverage and the precision and accuracy. There are really 8 fundamental factors of data quality that we need to pay attention to. And Qualytics automates all of that with flexibility around, well, my landing layer in my medallion architecture. I'm going to care about different factors than my gold layer, where I have already done my transformations and I'm looking at more business logic. Data quality is not the same across that data's ingress egress. So we need to have flexibility, which again, obviously Qualytics delivers. And the last part of it is this augmentation part. You'll see that there are a few vendors like us that are taking an augmented approach to data quality, which is putting machines to work. By understanding historic data's shapes and patterns, profiling that data, generating metadata, we can actually do some ML and AI methods to
Mm-hmm.
actually automatically generate, or if I may say, suggest data quality rules that hold to that historic data. Well, it turns out 95% of the use cases that a typical enterprise has is actually satisfied with auto-generated, auto-maintained rules.
Yeah.
Which is great. Now my team is not paying attention to or not having to write all those rules, but they're actually reviewing anomalies. Now we can actually get smarter about putting humans in the loop and having them give feedback to anomalies instead of rules. But we can fine tune. The machines can fine tune better based on that context.
And this is
So that's what
critical
Qualytics delivers.
for efficiency. I mean, like you mentioned, you have to deal with big data, lots of data sets, and within you know corporations, of course, you don't have the manpower to be able to do everything at scale. You do need solutions
Absolutely.
like that would be able to automate things. I want to,
Absolutely. We typically see somewhere between 14 to 18x ROI with
yeah,
just
wow,
operational efficiency.
wow. And I also want to touch on another point that you've mentioned there on the automation piece. I've seen a lot of companies, the way they're tackling data quality is they they often start to take a look at the reporting. They look at a dashboard or a report and they're saying, okay, well, something's wrong there. We need to fix it. And where they're fixing it is between the source, the ERP, the CRM, wherever that comes from, some sort of like a marketing tool that feeds that data into the report, and they fix it in between. So they write some sort of an ETL where they do a transformation to correct
Mhm.
how that data then appears in the report, because that's what the CEO reads and looks at. But it's
Yep.
not fixing the problem, right? It's only fixing a part of the unintended consequence. And even though that data is being used in so many other systems, and that ETL probably needs to be replicated many other times, and it does
Yeah.
not create an efficiency by doing so. And where Qualytics comes in, from what I'm hearing, is, well, you can also build in those rules that if you're encountering a particular issue, that it's programmed in. Hey, if you do encounter this, also maybe put in a ticket for the data steward that will be responsible for that data set, for them to look into, take the appropriate action according to their data governance procedures, and actually fix that problem or find out the root issue and try and get to the bottom of it.
Absolutely. Correcting data at the source is the ultimate solution, not slapping on a band-aid at the end. And that's what we end up doing. So, and it's a journey, just like you said, George. So it needs to start with actually detecting the issue.
Yeah.
So you cannot just do data quality at only your gold layer of medallion architecture. You need to do it at the silver and at the bronze. But also, if you can actually do it at the source, that's where the main money is, right? So
Yeah.
if I have an Oracle database that is transactional, that data ends up in my Snowflake ultimately, so that I can just do my data warehousing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Catch it, but then, just like you said, understanding the impact of that data upstream and downstream, go back to the source and correct it at the source. That's ultimately the correct way to approach data quality.
Love it.
Yeah. Gorkem, you've seen organizations throughout their journey. And what we wanted to ask you, so for companies or organizations just starting their journey in data governance for AI and ML, what would be your advice?
It's a great question. So, first of all, understand the analytics AI ML maturity model. Come to terms with where you are and prioritize accordingly, right? You cannot skip steps without getting your house in order. So, getting that house in order means you may not have a chief data officer. You may have your CTO is responsible of your data ecosystem. I don't care. Ultimately, you have a team that is responsible of making sure that data is available, up and running, and fit for purpose. Start defining your data governance framework, your goals for data governance, and then start going into the next step of the people, processes, technologies. It's simply not negotiable. You cannot be in business in 5 years and try to compete with no AI,
Mm-hmm.
with no efficiencies from AI. This is
Mm-hmm.
just simply not negotiable now. And your data has to be in order before you do that. So it's the perfect time to prioritize that data governance work, get your house in order so that you can enable all of the future work that you're going to do.
Yeah, that's great advice. Are there any emerging trends that you're foreseeing in data governance as AI, machine learning continue to evolve?
I would say the automation of the boring work is exactly why we exist, is exactly why some other companies are starting to exist there. I'm seeing some trends around, utilizing large language models, other Gen AI models into elevating our interaction with data, is what I'm going to call it. whether it's an AI assistant or whether it's some sort of natural language interface into my definition of data catalog, that's exciting to us that we're using machines better now so that we can actually make data work a little bit more efficient. I'm seeing that trend pick up more and more and more. What I don't pay attention to is, oh, this is another purpose-built GPT that's going to just correct all your data magically. That doesn't exist, right? The Gen AI models are not going to have business context typically. So enabling our business users, enabling our data teams to work faster with AI is exactly where the trends are. And that's also driving a lot of the framework decisions that enterprises are making.
Love it. Well, thank you so much, Gorkem, for being on the Lights on Data show, putting the lights on data governance in the world of AI, machine learning. These were all very insightful answers and practical steps, and we really, really appreciate your time here.
Amazing. Thank you for having me.
So, Gorkem, where can people find you, and where can they find out more about Qualytics?
Absolutely. We just rolled out our new website. It's called Qualytics.ai. Please come check it out. And yeah, please reach out. hello@qualytics.ai. And we're happy to do demos and show you how we're making data quality the most exciting thing in your data stack.